Thank you to Emergent for sponsoring this video. Click the link in the description to go to Emergent and build alongside me. In this video, I'm going to give you a step-by-step detailed tutorial of how you can use Emergent to build a two-sided marketplace like Airbnb. A lot of AI app tutorials are just to-do lists or habit trackers, and I wanted to build something more complicated. Here we are inside of Emergent. Now, before we get started, a couple things you should know about Emergent that makes it really powerful. First, you have the ability to choose your model. So we're going to stick with 4.5 Sonnet for now. On the Pro plan, you can choose to have ultra thinking. So I'm going to keep that turned on, but Emergent works really great with it turned off as well. So it just gives us a little bit more power. You also can sync to GitHub, and there's MCP support. So you can add any MCP server that you want. And there's also something called memory MCP to enable memory for your agent. And I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. So I think you're going to see in this video how powerful Emergent is. And while it's really easy for beginners to use, you're going to see we're just going to send a few prompts. It also has these more powerful features that I think makes it a tool that, especially if you want to build something more complicated, is definitely one that you should consider. So we're going to make a clone of Airbnb, but for renting bikes. And I'm going to go ahead and send that prompt away. Now, Emergent has the capability of having user authentication and the database all built in. You don't have to set that up separately. Now you can. As you saw, there was a Supabase MCP. So if you want to use Supabase, that is definitely an option. But I'm going to just use the Emergent backend and have it do it all in one in its own platform. Before it gets started building, and this is something that I really like, is it's giving us some clarifying questions to make sure that it's actually building what we want. So I'm going to go through these questions really quick. So the answers that I gave is I'm saying, yes, there should be two different types of users, bike owners and renters. I liked all of the core features they came up with, including a review system, booking system, etc. So I'm having it build out all of that. I'm saying to just mock up the payment flow for now. We can always add a Stripe integration later on using Emergent. I'm saying to use Airbnb's modern aesthetic and having it use bike rental appropriate colors. And then most importantly is I'm just going to start with Frontend only to see the design, and then we can add in the backend later. So now the agent is running and we're going to get our frontend mockup. We're going to view it together and then we'll have it build in the backend. Now, something that I hope you're going to get out of this video is this is a lot more complicated than just a to-do list app or a habit tracking app that you might see in other videos. I'm really trying to show the power of Emergent. All right, so we have our front end mockup. It wants us to try logging as a renter or owner to check out the features. And then once we're ready, we can have it do the back end. So here's the front end. It has some bikes. Looks like this image isn't working, but these are, which is nice. And we can test out clicking on one of these bikes. So here we go. We can see different images, which is nice. It has mock data for reviews. Let's see if are we able to select dates? Looks like we are. If I click reserve now, it doesn't look like it's built. Oh no, it has built that out. So here we go. We have the booking. And yeah, so it just built out. It didn't build out like the actual checkout. And then I can log in as the owner just here on the front end to see what it looks like. So we've got listings, requests, earnings, and then as the renter as well to see upcoming, past, and favorites. So overall, I really like the front end mockup. I am good to go with the back end and actually make it a real app. So let's tell the agent to do that. I'm just saying the front end looks great. I'm ready for you to add the back end and make it a functional app. So while it's building out the back end, I want to talk about a few reasons why builders are choosing Emergent instead of using other AI app builders. So first is that it does have the backend fully integrated. So you can see I asked for it to do the backend and it is going to create the database models, API endpoints, connect everything together. It's doing that on its own. We don't even have to connect Supabase. There is an MCP server, as I mentioned before, for Supabase, but you don't have to use that. It can be all integrated into Emergent. It also has really powerful agents, and it creates sub-agents as it needs. For example, it'll create testing agents to test your app. Autonomous testing specifically is really a cut above what I've seen in other apps. And I think it does a really good job at making sure that your app is running correctly, both in the front end and the back end. And when it's testing the front end, it'll even spin up a virtual browser, for example. If you want to add AI functionality, you can do that with the Emergent LLM. So you don't have to connect to an external API. Now, you definitely can do that, and You might want to do that once you go past proof of concept and you want to actually have your app in production. You might want your own OpenAI or Anthropic key, which it can handle, but it's really nice that it has that integrated all in one. And it's also really easy to turn your app into a mobile app. So that's something that Emergent is able to do by switching it and basically wrapping your app so that it can be published on the Google Play or Apple App Store. And then, as I mentioned before, there's no lock-in. So, you're spending all this money on tokens and code to be written. You don't want to be locked into one platform. You can save to GitHub and you will own all of the code that was written. So it's almost ready. We can see it says the backend is now running. Now I need to create the front-end API service layer and integrate it with the backend. Let me create the API service file and update the front-end components. Okay, so it tested the app. It says the authentication seems to be working, and then gives us a summary of what it implemented in the backend, including the MongoDB models, the REST API with 20 plus endpoints. So this is quite a complex app that we just created. So we're going to test it. There could be bugs, but it also did testing itself. So hopefully it all works. So the next steps are update remaining pages, explore bike detail, dashboard messages, list bike to integrate fully with real APIs instead of mock data. The backend is ready and has been tested. So I'm going to say, so we can test the user authentication to see how it works. And then if that does work, I'm going to have it update the remaining pages. So the agent is just going through one by one, methodically building out these pages. We can see it's updating the bike detail, the dashboard, the owner dashboard, and just going step by step through to build it all out. All right, so it says now the application is working with the real API. I tested, the user was able to log in successfully and is able to fetch data on the backend. So it's going to say the explore page is going to have 0 bikes available because we haven't added bikes to the database, which we can have it add mock data, for example. But let's test this out. So I'm going to go to the homepage. So I'm going to open this up in a new tab. Let's try again. Let's register as a renter. So we'll create the account. And great, I'm logged in. No upcoming bookings. If I click explore, there's no bikes again because it hasn't been created yet, but we should be able to create it as an owner. So why don't we try that? So I switch to owner mode. So now I can list my bike. It lets you list your bike, or you can be in the same account, an owner and a renter. But there also does seem to be a bug where it's logging me out as well. So those are 2 bugs. Why don't we actually ask the AI to fix that for us? So basically just sharing the 2 bugs that I saw as a renter. I don't see bike images when browsing the bikes, and the app seems to log the user out on page load or very quickly. Now, again, this is a pretty complicated app that we asked it to build with a lot of features. So it's pretty common for there to be a couple errors and bugs. So let's see how it's able to solve that. Usually with these types of AI tools, giving it an image can really help so it knows exactly what you mean. So I'm saying now I'm logged in as a user, which is great. It's staying logged in, but the image on the explore page for the bike isn't showing on the explore. So it says it sees the issue, but basically it wasn't valid as an external URL. So it's going to check the database and fix it. So after some debugging, everything seems to be working correctly now. So I'm going to demonstrate it to you and show you everything that we've built to build a fully functional 2-sided marketplace. So this is very similar to Airbnb, but in our case, we're doing a bike marketplace. So to test this, I'm going to open up in a new tab. And first, we're going to log in here as a renter. So here you can see I have rented this bike. And if we go to the homepage and go to explore, we can see all the bikes. And this bike is one that I uploaded as an owner. So we see that it's working now. These previous ones aren't working because it didn't upload correctly before we made the fix. But now that we fixed it, this road bike that I just uploaded, this is the image that I uploaded correctly. So it's saving it correctly to the database and then displaying it correctly. So I booked this. You can see it's booked here 18th and 19th because those are the dates that I booked, which is pretty cool that I even thought to build that in. So then if I go back to my dashboard, we can see this is my booking and it is confirmed. And then on the owner side, so I'll show you the owner side real quick. So we can list a new bike. So I can go ahead and do that and show you how this all works from the owner side. We'll just go ahead and upload it. And here's the image that I uploaded. So I can list it. And now it's going to be available as a bike. And once we have everything filled out, we can go ahead and list the bike. And here it is, the bike that I just listed. And then just to show you, we can go to the homepage, but then I'll go in an incognito window And here we can go down and explore. So this is the bike that the other owner just listed. So I can click on it and then I can rent it and just show you the whole process from both sides. So I can click reserve now. So basically now it is pending, and then we'll go back to the owner. So we have the booking request and then you can accept it. And then once it's accepted, it goes into confirmed. The last thing you need to know about is how easy it is to actually deploy your app to the internet directly from Emergent. To do this, you can just click deploy. There's a button here at the bottom, also on the top right. And once you hit deploy, you're going to have the option to start a new deployment. And deployments do cost 50 credits a month on Emergent to maintain it. But as long as you have those credits in your account, your app will run on Emergent hosting on its own. You also can run a pre-deployment health check to catch deployment blockers before launch, which costs a few credits. And it's really nice that Emergent has this feature. I'm going to go ahead and start the deployment. We can see our account is going to be charged, and you can also shut your deployment down anytime to stop charges for the next month. So I'm going to go ahead and click deploy now, and we're going to get a step-by-step view of what's happening, building packages, migrating the database, exporting secrets, deploying, and then running a health check. Here it is deployed. You have a URL as a subdomain with Emergent that we could click on and access right away. So here is our app. And you can also link a custom domain if you'd like. So with Emergent, you can go from idea all the way to deployment with an integrated backend, all in one platform. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you watched until the end, you now know what is possible with Emergent and how powerful it is. And we could keep building for hours to keep polishing this app and making it even better. But this is really impressive for just the first step of building a marketplace. And you could see how agentic the agents were as it actually built out the app. And it did a really good job with debugging as well, which is something that's really important with any AI app builder when you're considering which one to use. Again, click the link in the description to go to Emergent and start building for yourself. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get more free content like this, and we'll see you in the next video.